let us begin. My name is Teresa Frohock. I am Library Technical Assistant here at Rockingham Community College and Gerald B. James Library. And it is our pleasure today to have with us a former RCC student and author, Ms. Linda Bledsoe. And she's here today to talk about her new historical novel, Through the Needle's Eye. A native of Virginia, Linda worked for 33 years as a family nurse practitioner. Always passionate about writing, she has co-published articles in various medical journals. Bledsoe also holds degrees from Rockingham Community College, New York State University, and Johns Hopkins University. She currently resides in Stewart, Virginia, and Through the Needle's Eye is her debut novel. Please help me welcome Linda Bledsoe.
Thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate it. And I am a resident of Stewart, Virginia, but I'm also a resident of Eden, North Carolina. So I'm sort of split both ways right now. But I do thank you for coming. I'm thrilled to be here. And I wanted to give you a little synopsis of, if we have a moment, I'd like to give you a synopsis of my life as a child. And the life of a lot of children, you know, in this world sometimes can be pretty cold and hard. You have to figure your way out. But I started here. I cut my teeth here. I had gone to a program in Danville, Virginia. When I figured out I had to make a living, I wanted to get into the nursing program in Danville, Virginia. I got accepted. And then after I got accepted, about 3 months later, I was told, well, you'll need to leave the program because I didn't have any money. And so I cried for about 3 months over that and found this place in my backyard. And that's what life has always done for me. I find things in my backyard. And sometimes if we just look around, we might find what we need right there for us. And so many opportunities this day and age with getting an education. We can even do it online. We can do it all kinds of ways, so there's not much of an excuse. And so much help even getting your diploma for high school. So I knocked on RCC's door, and I was accepted here. And then I learned something about prerequisites and went to work on getting those out of the way with monies, loans, and scholarships. They helped me with it. Then I went into the RN program here and I became a registered nurse. Worked a couple of years as a registered nurse and figured out I'm not satisfied. I want more. So I heard about this thing called family nurse practitioner from the University of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So here I go. I'm knocking on the door at UNC Chapel Hill, and they let me in. So I was accepted. I got my certificate as a family nurse practitioner. Back then, we didn't know what the heck that was. So I worked actually 35 years as a nurse practitioner because I went back after I retired and I worked as a nurse practitioner in urgent care. Well, there's where I found my love. It was so exciting. You never knew what was coming in that door. So I did that for about 3 years. So I cut my teeth here. You know, I'm so grateful that this place was here for me. I'm so grateful that it's here for all the other kids that come knocking on the door and they don't have a way through any other avenue and can go from here if they wish to other places. So that's my little spiel. So, and you'll probably have questions about this book. Like I say, it's in your back door sometimes, but I'm proud of the book. It's called Through the Needle's Eye. And at first, I was in a quandary about what I wanted to call it. And at first I thought, poor white trash. And I got myself involved in a writers group here in this county, And everybody wanted me to call it poor white trash. And I did. I named it poor white trash. Then something just said to me, no, you need to name it through the needle's eye. Because sometimes that's how hard it is to get through and become who you're, go through in your destiny. And it's not easy sometimes for some people. So we called it Through the Needle's Eye. So it's a fiction, meaning not real. It's a fiction and it's got a whole lot of me in it. And you're going to meet two characters. One character is Jesse. And what makes this book different, and I had to, oh, here comes somebody. What makes this book different is that it's told through a child's eye. And this child is Jesse. And often we as adults, even though we have kids and nephews and nieces and whatever, and we have different kids that bump into us in our lifetime that need guidance, and I know you guys do, the ones working here at the college. They need guidance, and we can do something to help get them on the right track. So Jessie tells the story, which is unusual, and you get to see things like she sees them in her life, about the people around her. And you also meet this incredible, honey, bookmarks. Incredible people, another person, a really bold, loud voice comes out, and her name's Granny Isabel. And she's a fictional character, kind of made up with a lot of other people I've met in my life. I think probably everybody I've met that's made any importance in my life is probably summed up in this one book. So, I was in a quandary about which one to read to you, but I'm going to read this one. It's probably I had about 5 different chapters, but I don't think we have time. So, I'll read chapter 2, and you'll see how important an adult figure is in a little girl's life. This chapter is Granny Isabel and Me. Well, some people said Granny Isabel raised me. She taught me about gardening and life. A needle ain't worth a hill of beans without no eye, she said. And no thread in the eye can't sew nothing up. And I whispered, but Granny, can a needle sew me up when I ain't nothing much left over but little bitty pieces? Even if I'm all gashed up inside? And she spoke wisely. Well, some things a body can't fix, but some stuff you can fix your own self. And the good difference is knowing what can and can't be fixed. Knowing what you can and can't do without making things worse off. Then you let the rest go. Well, I studied on my own self, getting sewed on and rolling her words over as she rambled on. A needle with its eyes full of blue, strong cotton thread. It can sew just about anything, even you, I suppose. But I hope to God it won't never happen, me having to sew you up and all. You, my little angel. And with that, she patted a scrawny, vain hand on my stringy head for a little bit. And then her dull eyes fastened to the ground as she hoed faster, it nearing supper time. She tooled the red clay and said, I know you ain't but 5 years old, but I got to drum a lot of stuff in that there head afore the flesh side of you wins out. even if I have to pack it in sideways. I'm going to keep going at it as long as there's breath in this old body. Well, it probably won't be long, I thought to myself in the midst of her chatter, because she's already too old to live right now, her back all humped up from slaving so hard. And I wondered what might happen if there weren't nobody left for me. Like some kin had spoken of so many times, my ears listening to their whispers. Granny Isabel constantly preached about one thing or another, teaching me with the slow, long words and short, grunting promises. As if alive, the hoe clicked and chomped, her words clunked out, matching her digs like a song. I yearned for the teaching more than her pouncy, preachy words. They were the ones that kept hitting me square in the face and squeezing on my sinful heart, repenting me like Preacher Smith did at that Baptist church. Well, that preacher man, he only wanted to keep me from busting hell wide open. But Granny Isabel hoped to save me from them wolves roaming about. Wolves that looked like people, she said. And they was just waiting to come and rip me to pieces any time now. Well, it ain't many times Granny Isabel was without no words, unless she was just worn out, dead tired to the world. But even then, there was times that she spoke out into the air, not knowing it. Sitting there lifeless after supper, that chair rocking, squeaking like a mouse, and me talking back to nothing but two eye slits and some soft purring sounds. But out in the cornfield, she'd gab on, wagging them skinny fingers to the north and south and east and west, tugging on her crumpled old paperback hat every once in a while to get a point across. Solid on her feet like a mountain goat, she'd preach, acting like we're going to go somewhere far away on a journey where we ain't never been, getting there with no way of going, and not knowing where we're going in the first place. Us just putting one foot in front of the other, doing a wee step at a time. Well, Granny Isabel prattled on in the garden, chopping what didn't need no more chopping. Half of me listening and the other half not. Her chats went way over my thoughts, and that tried to bring some sense inside of me as I sat playing in the dirt clumps after she passed through hacking furrows, hoe locked up tight in her calloused hands. Mud all up under me. I worked up a grimy wet wad from the mason jar of water I done poured out, making a red pie for her and myself by breaking up some earthy blobs with gooey bait worms pulled into pieces. Curiously fingering the fat squashed up ones, I probed some unmashed worms right back together again like they was puzzles. Well, I'd gulp the fresh, sweet soil scents into my nostrils like water as hope climbed into my heart. I wanted, in the worst way of all, to be like Granny Isabel someday, paper hat and all. Out of nowhere, she'd speak way too loud like I couldn't hear nothing. Well, life's that way, like them clumps of dirt you playin' with. Folks always trying to stick the shattered bits of their souls together, trying to fix things that can't be fixed by man's hands. But most times after somebody or their own sorry selves done ripped things clean apart. But the Lord Jesus can put them back together. Well, I shook my head in agreement as I shooed some nasty black crows away, throwing some dusty dirt clots at them, leaving dirt crumbs behind at my feet. Granny Isabel would smack her dry lips, making mine thirsty too. Well, it's human nature, I guess, making a mess out of things and not caring till it's all over and done. Always wanting what they don't have and never worked for. Honing in on somebody else's wife and such. Like that sorry James, that son of mine that I ain't claiming. Awful things he's done put Mamie through. Well, as myself, I only knew what I saw. Daddy was mad a lot and he hit Mama. But for sure, I didn't know the depth of her suffering. But still I sat, mud-faced, nodding at Granny Isabel like I knew exactly. Like I got plenty of the same sense as hers. And I looked at her, watching the sky, crinkly eyes, hand sheltered, checking for the time of day. Her green eyes blinked at mine in between the falling words. And Granny Isabel said, she ain't got long to teach me, to learn me some things in life and such that I gotta know in case she ain't around. Well, I wasn't worried none too much, 'cause she was always there for me. And I was thinking, Jesus would never be so mean as to take my Granny Isabel from me not handling things too good with all my crying spells without no mama or daddy. Well, since they had left me behind with Granny as they went on their merry way once again, her being all I got in the whole wide world to lean on, and tears clotting my eyelashes as my sorrows and loneliness fill my chest like a water trough. Well, sweat dripped down from Granny Isabel's old craggy brow as mud splats from pie making leaked atop my freckles, dragging down my face. And she stopped to wipe the brownish smudges from my cheeks, whistling soft through her toothless mouth. Now, little child, don't you go looking sad. But I was sad. Although my parents had been gone for 6 months by Granny's guess, it seemed so long, and I was missing them again. Her briny touch brought us together and made it seem like a good day, with me grinning up at her, and me and her standing in the tall straw grass beside the hand-plowed rows, us both looking far off to the hills with a heartfelt hankering for something better, not knowing sure what. And she stooped down, reached by the garden wayside, and she picked up a rough, faded corn husk that was shed off its shoot some year or years back. And crumpled and curled up on the ends, it lay beneath my feet, crunching as if wanting to live again, just to breathe once more, but couldn't. All the willpower left out, kind of like my insides failed. Granny Isabel saw the meaning of it, and she said, well, like this here blade of grass now gone and dead, we too will wilt and pass on, wanting to breathe once more, but no drive left to live. Still looking off, I forgot that corn husk, thinking more on my stomach full of empty, my mind gone far away, her way off from me, but still right alongside. Well, do you think you still got some of them biscuits in the stove top? I could see them. Well, sure I do. Well, could I have one with a little sugar on it? Well, you sure can. But I got me some more things to say first. And and she took hold of my head and she turned it sidelong into hers, looking at me straight on. I looked at her dumbstruck. And then I thought on chicken bones and me sucking the meat off where there wasn't none but just gristle. And I thought I knew exactly what she meant, but might not, because of her being a prophet speaking in riddles. Then I asked, why do some people like us have to work so hard and have nothing to show for it? And others have everything good, even ice cream. Well, I didn't understand those who had and those who didn't, but mostly because it was we who didn't. So she said this in a quiet way. Well, honey, some of us have to go through the tough way. It's what's been given to us. We play the cards we're given. If we try hard enough and long enough, some answers will come. We just have to keep working hard and walking on the right path. Dig, plant, water, weed, pick, save, and keep them ornery bugs out of the patch. Well, I nodded yes at bugs, because it was what I was doing right then and there. You keep on trying when it ain't nothing left inside, like tasting that sweet corn without no teeth. Keep gnawing, and good things come to those who try, not those who wait for things to get done by somebody else's blood, sweat, and tears. We gotta keep going. And I looked on her hard, me talking in my head about bugs and worms, me knowing about sweat and tears already, not nearly half grown, staring blankly at my scarred up leg, wishing it not to be so horrible, and missing my mom and daddy. I was wanting to see my beat up mama just for a bit, hankering to see that baby girl she's done pushed out some time back, like Daddy's scrawny old letter said. Them being far away from me now, them loving on that baby and not me, and me knowing I'm way too much trouble for them to carry along. One day, Jesse, you gonna be on the have side. You just watch and see what I'm telling you. You got my big thumbs, meaning we too strong-willed to sit still, to live a life of nothing, no good to nobody, not even our own selves. Well, what made sense to me was not to wait so long on that sugar biscuit, like I was having to do. I spied the house, wanting to see Smokey and give him a bone, but plain knowing there weren't no bones. Then Granny Isabel sputtered some more. One little grain of corn can make a whole row. A row of kernels can make a cornfield that'll spread like 1,000 stars in the midnight sky. You'll have a dab of money and more than enough seeds to plant the next year. And I looked away thinking, 1,000 stars? Yes, but one little seed won't do a thing if nobody bothers to dig a hole and pack up a little dirt next to it. You gotta dig your own holes, child, 'cause it's what's been given to you. You're already stronger than most women. Heck, some can't even make a biscuit. But my Jessie sure can. Do you know what I'm saying? We gotta have faith in what we plant, seeing things that ain't there yet. Faith is what calls out the good things, the water out of rocks. Well, I nodded my head yes, blowing a dandelion puff while my mind was stuck on garden kernels with nothing sprouting, nothing at all. Like it happens sometimes when the rain doesn't come and the bloodshot cracks curled edges, with the sun beating down strong and heavy on Granny Isabel's seeded field, sprouting nothing but her words. And sometimes I'd tiptoe through the jagged, earthy tiles, trying not to break my granny's back. If I stepped on a crack, it'd break Mama's back, but I was afraid the superstition would affect my granny's back too, knowing nature had long ago broke it before the land dried up, knowing full well them kernels done been planted for nothing. No faith inside of me then and none now. So I savored up Granny Isabel's words for another time, chomping on my wet hair ends. I planned, when my mind wasn't aching and my stomach wasn't starving to death, to think on them things some more later on. See them rows I done chopped, she yelped out, sounding like Smokey when his tail got stomped. Well, yeah, not wanting to listen no more. Do you see how one row goes that way and another goes yonder? She asked, knobby fingers pointing in like a crooked fork. Well, my head nodded yes again. Well, little child, someday not far off, you're going to come to a split in the road. You're going to have to choose one. You can't do both. You're going to have to direct your own feet to the right path for your own sake. So don't never let nobody else pick your way. Don't never let anybody trod on your back like it's a road. It's what the Word of God done said. Never, never, never. Now, do you hear me, little one? Yeah, I said, shaking my head severely, having stood all I could, acting as if I had a little understanding, but didn't. Well, there's good and evil all around us. Don't never let darkness blot that bursting light inside of you. You be your own self. And don't you change who you are for nobody else. You do what needs changing for your own self. You can do almost anything if you've got the gumption to reach for the stars and push through that needle's eye. I'm going to skip on a little bit. We're getting close to the end, and I know we are with time. This is toward the end of the day. I was thinking on how to help Granny Isabel get some peace in her heart over my sorry lot in life. Our minds met, and unified, we sauntered on home to the house. Me munching hair ends and her preaching glory. Me and Granny Isabel. Well, I couldn't be in one place and her in another. So we just stuck together most times, my hand laid up in hers, walking side by side, and me stepping on her moonish shadow and her on mine along the way in our thoughts. And she said, we were just alike, me and her. And all the while us standing quiet in the cornfield as the orange sun melted down, to sleep a distance somewhere, way beyond some ripe meadows, pulling a quilt of muted purple, red, and yellow over its giant glowing head. And together we watched another day drift into soft, still nothingness. She rattled some pans, warmed up the greasy gravy, the fried fatback, and the cold biscuits. And we sat tabled, facing each other, gazing out of the kitchen window. Stars shooting down from heaven by the hands full, and me wishing ever so hard on each one as Granny Isabel murmured a weary food prayer into the air, it hanging a while just like a balloon, and me listening to silence. Exhausted, she washed our gravy dishes and I dried them. I sloshed the gray dishwater clumps into the yard from the pan for a few chickens that hadn't roosted yet. And then, seemingly not tired no more, Granny Isabel stooped down. She rubbed a sweet feeling over my face with a wet rag in her hands, as love tears welled up in her eyes. And me full of her warm, earthy odors, tucked into bed alongside of her icy feet. Me fighting not to sleep now, but to talk some more about life, like kernels, corn kernels and such. Her purring, not talking much. And me loving my Granny Isabel, and them stars full of fire shooting down at us from God's hand. And her sugar biscuits and never-ending holy words. Her teaching, 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 and me knowing I got the best Granny Isabel in the whole wide world, and me sleeping, sleeping, sleeping. Okay. Any questions? No questions? Thank you. That's my hubby. Honey, I've got some bookmarks. Yeah, I got a few. I thought we brought them. No questions? Anybody? We've got some writers in here. We've got authors here now. What, hon?
How many books? I don't have all my teeth in.
That's okay.
How many books you got with you?
Plenty. Oh, more than this. But whatever. I'm just happy to be here, you know. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Thank you. I'm hoping to get into the schools.
Can I share an anecdote with you?
Go ahead.
First had to ride a book truck. Didn't know it was bad. Brother Gordon, I said, Joel, Joel, you got to read. You know we had a star.
I don't know about a star, but thank you so much. Thank you. I told them I was born up at a little place called Schoolfield, Virginia, just across the line. Grew up mostly in Greensboro. Well, we still have a home in Eden. We've been there 20-some years. But this is where I started school, Barbara. Yeah, right here. Yes, hon. I've been wanting to write a book, I guess, since I was 20 years old. I always said I'm going to write a book someday, but I don't know that I believed it back then. Actually, after I retired, I'd seen so much in my job line. I worked as a nurse practitioner. Yeah, actually it says 33 years, but I worked 35 years as a nurse practitioner. I saw a whole lot of stuff. And I just wanted to get something out that maybe would help kids or college students or whatever to understand. I just want so badly for them to understand. You don't have to settle for your circumstances if they're not the best. You can move. We are in a country we can do just about anything we set our minds to, I think. Don't y'all agree? Don't you agree? You just got to be persistent and go after it. And that's what it is with a book. It doesn't, Tom, Barbara, it doesn't come easy, does it? Now, both of these people have written books too.
How long did it take you to write it?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years. And you actually become the characters yourself. And you can't hardly shake them off, you know. And it's just, it's something like, Aubrey knows, I'd go sit sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours at the computer writing. And it was as if something would just come down from heaven and beam through me and come out on the pages. And I'm not the only one that's happened to. I've been to lots of conferences and so forth, and every writer, just about, even poets, will say it happens to them that way. And you know yourself from what you told me, but you have to write it down, because if you don't write the gift down, it leaves.
You damn old 12 I got papers all over the house. Notes. What'd I do with it?
Well, Tom has won award. This is Tom Lanier. And he has won award after award after award. His whole house has them all over the walls. And now he has a book. What's the name of it?
A Friend in Need.
A Friend in Need. I guess it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
And this is on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles and whatever as well. I don't care whether you buy a book or not. I'm just happy to have you. Okay? I'm just happy. Huh? They're 15. Yeah. I know, but I do 15. Yeah.
I'd like to buy a book, but I gotta go next week.
Okay. If you want to, I don't want you to feel like you got to.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so, so much.